Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette and our series, Is It Worth It? Today we discuss Dom Perignon champagne and see whether it's worth your money. So first of all, what is champagne? In the US, it's a term that is broadly used for any kind of sparkling wine. However, champagne technically is only sparkling wine that is grown in a specific region in France. In this video, we talk about champagne from the designated Champagne region in France, not the other stuff. Today, the Dom Perignon champagne is quite well known, similarly to maybe the Veuve Cliquot. However, while a Veuve Cliquot costs between $40 and $50, Dom Perignon usually sells for around $150. Over the years, Dom Perignon has become synonymous with a great champagne for wine lovers. And in this video, we discuss whether it's worth to invest $150 for the simple vintage version or even $360 for the vintage rosé. In order to evaluate whether it's worth it, let's look a bit at the history of the house. Dom Perignon was a French Benedictine monk who lived in the 17th century, and word is on the street that he invented champagne. It turned out it's a myth, but humans are suckers for good stories, and that's why you still sometimes can hear that he invented champagne. Over the years, fame stuck on the brand name, and in 1936, Moet Chandon acquired the Dom Perignon brand to release it as the first premium champagne. Ever since, it has enjoyed somewhat of a celebrity status. For example, at the wedding of Prince Charles and Diana, magnum bottles of Dom Perignon 1961 were served. A magnum bottle is simply one that is 1.5 liters and twice the size of a regular bottle of champagne, which is just 750 milliliters. While most bottles at the store only come in 750 milliliters, champagne bottles actually come in all kinds of different sizes. The biggest ones are the Sovereign, which consists of 35 bottles or 25.25 liter. The largest champagne bottle out there consists of 40 regular bottles or 30 liters. It's called Melchizedek. If you want those bottles, as you can imagine, you have long lead times and they're very, very expensive. So what makes Dom Perignon special and stand out from other champagnes? First of all, a Dom Perignon is always a millésime, which is the French word for vintage, and it means that the champagne was made from the single crop of 1 year, and only that one of a good year. For example, the Dom Perignon we have here is a vintage 2009, which consists of the crop of 2009. I think they didn't have one in 2010, 11, 12, 13, and even 14. And only 15 and 16 are new vintages, but they're still being aged and not available for purchase quite yet. Because of that, every Dom Perignon vintage tastes different. Other champagnes that don't have a vintage here are always made so they taste the same, similarly to a Big Mac, which tastes the same no matter if you're in India, Brazil, or the US. The parent company, or Maisons, which means house or champagne house in French, was founded in 1743 as Moet SC. 90 years later, Pierre-Gabriel Chandon joined Jean-Rémy Moet to form Moet Chandon. This brand is still around today, and it's the #1 maison that sells the most bottles of champagne in the world. In 1971, Moet Chandon merged with NSC, which was a producer of cognac. In 1987, Louis Vuitton took them over and built the largest luxury group in the world. They're still around today and better known as LVMH or LVMH. It means Louis Vuitton, Moet, NSC. If you look at plain numbers, Moet Chandon releases about 26 million bottles a year, Veuve Cliquot 10 million, and Dom Perignon just 5. As you can see, because Dom Perignon is rarer, it's also more expensive. However, does this factor of rareness warrant a price about 3 times as much? So here are the differences between a regular champagne from France and a premium French champagne. For example, a Moet Chandon Brut Imperial non-vintage is produced from over 100 different wines from over 200 different crus, which are the villages where the grapes are grown. Every maison tries to maintain a specific character of champagne in their non-vintage series every year, and they achieve that by blending different wines to always get that same taste profile that's very recognizable. Because of that, most aficionados will always return to the same brand whose flavor profile they've grown very fond of. In general, in a Brut Imperial, you'll find flavors of citrus, apple, honey, maybe brioche, and other flavors. It's considered to be a light, delicate wine. I think it's a good, but not necessarily a remarkable champagne. That being said, Every person has different taste buds, and because of that, things taste differently. Just because you see a rating somewhere that says, oh, 99 points, doesn't mean you'll actually like it. So with champagne, it really pays to follow your own palate and your own tongue and simply go with what you would like. Yes, it is true. More expensive wines usually have more interesting flavors, they're stronger flavor profiles, and it will linger longer in your mouth. That being said, if you don't like the flavor in the first place, it doesn't matter. So with a millésime or vintage champagne from Dom Perignon, all those things change. It really depends on how much sun, how much rain, how much dryness there was in a specific year, but it's good to keep in mind that you only get a good champagne or maybe an outstanding champagne. Most critics agree that the recent best Dom Perignon champagne was the vintage 2002, which is harder to find and more expensive than, let's say, the vintage 2009. The selection of the grapes in a Dom Perignon champagne is more rigorous, and the pickers wait until the grapes have a better ripeness. Because of that, the chef de cave or the cellar master may add different flavor profiles, maybe a little more pH or acidity rather than sugars or sweetness. However, the differences doesn't end with what goes into the bottle. Moet Chandon Brut Imperial is aged for 3 years, while the Dom Perignon is aged for 7 years. Because of that, the Dom Perignon has a proportionally bigger depth of aromas. So objectively, those are the big differences between a regular champagne and the Dom Perignon champagne. Now, is it worth the difference in price? I believe that's impossible to objectively judge the merits of wine. There's always a strong element of subjectivity because our palates are also different. While it will surely be a different experience, I'm willing to bet that most people won't be able to pick out a Dom Perignon in a blind testing. And chances are that people with a regular palate that are not used to champagne actually prefer the non-vintage champagnes because they're usually a little more zesty and crisper. So is Dom Perignon worth it? I would say yes, if you're willing to enter the world of fine wine and champagne and you want something special, maybe to celebrate an achievement in your life or that of someone else. I believe Dom Perignon is not worth it if you just want to impress someone with the bottle and the money you can spend on champagne, or if you haven't gotten used to less expensive versions of champagne, because that way you're probably not going to enjoy it to the same level as you would as you have a more developed palate. It takes some time to really taste all the nuances, and if you drink the Dom Perignon early on without having any base benchmarks, it's probably not going to be as exciting of an experience. So in general, is champagne worth it compared to, let's say, a Prosecco or a Crémant, which is a different sparkling wine out of a different area in France? Personally, I believe yes, because it has a unique flavor profile that you don't quite get from others. Now, if you find a little vineyard in maybe Germany and you think they are superior to champagnes, by all means, go for it and enjoy it. Are you now ready to taste some champagne? Please check out this video where I show you how to chill, pour, drink, and enjoy champagne the proper way. In today's video, I'm wearing an outfit that I would typically wear for a party in my home around Christmas, maybe Christmas Eve or New Year's. It consists of a burgundy velvet dinner jacket that I had custom made for you. It's double-breasted with a shawl collar, 4 buttons, but it only buttons on the bottom level that shows more of my chest. I opted for reflective mother of pearl buttons because that's nice in the evening, and I added cuffs to the jacket sleeves. For my shirt, I chose a regular dress shirt because overall it's a more casual black tie outfit. I could have also worn a proper black tie shirt with shirt studs. Of course, I'm still wearing French cuffs with cufflinks, in this case from Fort Belvedere, with malachite green stones because it's very much in line with the Christmas theme. You're going to find these cufflinks in our shop here. In the same vein, I combined it with a silver and malachite pinky ring because it picks up the green and red tones in the outfit. My bow tie is likewise velvet, but it's special because it's a single-end velvet self-tie bow tie, and you can find it in our shop here. As you can see, it stands up by itself, and it's just slightly more elegant than a regular velvet bow tie, which you can also find in our shop. In my chest pocket, I'm wearing a white linen pocket square, which you can also find in our shop, just like the Fort Belvedere boutonniere here, which is white and small and works with a width of the lapel. My slacks are black tuxedo pants with a side galon in silk satin. I'm pairing them with over-the-calf charcoal and gray socks for a more relaxed look than, let's say, a black silk sock. No matter what you choose, you can find all of them in our shop here. Because I'm at home, I'm wearing green velvet slippers that again go with the green of my cufflinks and the burgundy tone of my dinner jacket. You may note that my dinner jacket does not have any vents, which is a style typical for evening wear because it's more elegant.